Welcome to NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series, where we focus on how financial advisors work, live, and give to their local communities and our greater financial services industry. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, everyone. This is Chris Gandy, one of your co-hosts for Advisor Today podcast, where we feature the top in the insurance and the financial services industry. And then we are joined by my wonderful co-host, Suzanne Carawan of NAIFA. Hi, Suzanne.
Hey, Chris.
And our podcast has been focused on really uplifting advisors and their voices. We've had superstar guests like Tom Michael, our 2021 Yacht Leader of the Year, Brian Haney, and industry pros like Brian Ash, and just to name a few. Today, we got a wonderful guest who's set to be with us at the National Leadership Conference, Paul Dougherty. But I'll turn it over to Suzanne to talk a little bit about our sponsor for today's program.
Yeah, and our sponsor is someone that Paul Dougherty knows well, and we've done a lot of work together. It really is coming from the NAIFA's Government Relations overall division. We're the only association doing state, interstate, and federal advocacy. And one of the big things that we're doing this year is inviting all of our members and non-members to a special live stream event on Monday, November 14th at 1 p.m. We're going to have political pundit Nathan Gonzalez join us. He will be with us in person at the iconic Omni Showroom to do a live stream event talking about the post-elections, but we'll also be able to live stream that to anyone who's actually not on site with us. So you can go ahead and you can register. It's totally free as a give back from NAIFA to the industry. You can go to belong.naifa.org/NLC. And NLC stands for the National Leadership Conference. It's the one time a year that all of NAIFA Nation gets together to really celebrate our leadership, install all of our officers, right? And really bring forward all of our award winners. And so with that, one of the people you're going to meet this year, if you join us at National Leadership Conference, is Paul Dougherty. So Chris, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Hey, Paul, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Chris. Happy to be with you.
Thanks for being here. You got big shoes to fill. You know, we've had the Mount Rushmore of advisors here in the past. So we look forward to hearing all the wonderful things you can share with NAIFA Nation. So let's just start from me. Let's rewind the tape a little bit. How did you get started in the business?
Completely by accident. I had just graduated from college, and my parents were in the process of switching insurance companies, and the agent for the company that I'm with right now had come to the house to do the inspection, as we did as agents back then. And my mother, in only the way that an Irish mother would do, said, "Hey, this kid's looking for a job." And I was like, "Mom," and the agent, who was a great guy, was a dear friend of mine until he retired, said, "No, listen, this is a great company to work for. This is somebody that I can definitely get behind." And so I started the process and went to work for my company, and I was an employee for 6 years. And after spending some time finally supporting our executive office and having a great relationship with our regional vice president, he said, if you really want to maximize the benefit that you get from all of the effort that you put into your work, you really need to be an agent. And so I am coming up on my 25th year as an agent on December 1st. So it's been almost 32 years with the same company. And I've been 25 years at the same address, in the same spot in Hyattsville, just outside Washington, D.C.
So 25 years. So what's changed let's rewind the tape. If you could give your 25-year younger self advice, starting, what would you tell yourself now what would you tell your 25-year younger self? What advice would you give yourself?
It's a great question. I think what I would say is that the business then is the very much the same as the business now, in that it's all about relationships with people. It is taking care of our customers and our clients, meeting them where they are. But we have a gift as being a part of this profession, in that we can see around corners and see potential risks that our clients, our customers can't see. So I think back then, I'm not sure that I had, being a newbie in the industry, the confidence to be able to challenge people and get them out of their comfort zone the way that I can now. Back then, it was a question of, hey, this could happen. Now, 25 years later, I can say, hey, this has happened to another customer, another client. I can tell you what their experience has been, so you don't have to go down that same negative experience, that you don't have to expose yourself potentially to the risks that we can help remediate or resolve. And so I think back then, the technology has changed, the way we do business in terms of the electronics has changed. But I think at the core of it, it's still about the people that we serve, the communities that we serve, and the commitment to make sure that we're giving our customers the best possible experience with our expertise that we possibly can.
So I would say with that, then, Paul, so what did you do in that gap time, but while you were kind of developing the experience and the stories and actually going through that, what advice would you have for a young advisor who doesn't yet have that? They haven't gone through all of these experiences. What would you tell them to do?
Well, this is not a setup question because you and I didn't ask this
No.
ahead of time, but it was my experience in getting in to be a part of NAIFA. It was the idea that you could come together as an agent, as an advisor in different parts of your arc and learn from one another. And that was a tremendous benefit to me. The first NAIFA meeting that I went to was NAILU at the time in 1999. I was struck by the camaraderie of the people in the room that were all competitors that had all come together for two reasons. One, to get better at what they do. And they were willing to learn and to teach and to mentor even a young advisor like myself in best practices. And some of the stories that I didn't yet have personally that I could adopt from them because they were sharing those experiences with me. And then their commitment to protecting the industry and our profession and what we do as NAIFA volunteers today from an advocacy on both the legislative and the regulatory environment piece. I found early that the folks that are a part of this organization are not just committed to making sure that we can keep doing what it is that we do, but it is in telling those stories to the legislators and regulators that we interact with, just how important it is that they not eliminate the position that we have in terms of taking very complicated and complex issues like financial services and some insurance packages and making them easier to digest and consume and to put in place for our customers. And the more difficult and cumbersome things become, like fiduciary rules and regulatory bodies like the Department of Labor getting into things, the more they need our stories from the street to be able to say, hey, this is the folks that we're serving. These are the people that need our services. And by taking the steps that you're taking with this rule or with a pending piece of legislation to a member of Congress or the Senate to be able to say, hey, this is the positive impact of what you're proposing. This is the negative impact. We can tell those stories about their constituents because those are the folks that we're serving with them. And so those are, as you don't have those stories yourself, for those new advisors, I will tell you, get yourself into a space like NAIFA so that you can learn from folks that are a little bit further ahead of you in that career arc.
So I have a question for you. So you've obviously had success. You've been to the NLC before. Obviously, you've been politically involved to an aspect. What would you say is, we're coming up on the NLC, right? And most people don't know like what it's actually like, right? If you could describe your experience as being a part of the NLC or in DC, share with us a little bit about your experience and how that's, how people can look forward to something like that. Could you share with us a little bit about what that means to you to kind of be a conduit?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. And I was born in DC and was raised, just in suburban Maryland here. And so I'm a DC native at heart. So I love the political environment that we're in. But I think what happens when you're outside the bubble of the Beltway, a lot of folks have anxiety and apprehension about how to get involved and have conversations with either members of Congress or with their staffs. I think what NLC does in a remarkable way is not just bring us together as members of NAIFA, but to show us that these are the key elements to pieces of legislation that are going on the Hill or regulatory issues that we need to be sensitive to, and how to have that conversation with the member of Congress or with their staffs. When I would travel around the country in my leadership roles with NAIFA, I had remarkable experiences to meet with speakers of the House of different states, members of the regulatory environment, departments of insurance in different states. And it was great to be able to then just talk to them person to person and say, tell me about your Joe job before you became a legislator, or a lot of them are part-time legislators. What did you do? What was your work experience? And relate what we do in serving our customers with what they did to run a pharmacy or to run a small law firm. And when you get down to Capitol Hill, you realize that the depth of knowledge that these members have and their staffs have is often an inch deep but a mile wide. They have so many issues that they have to be concerned with. They do have policy experts, but it may be a 25-year-old, college graduate that's from their district that is now in this space. But as a part of their portfolio, they also have sports betting or, all sorts of other things that have nothing to do with what we do. They just have a small sliver of that portfolio that affects us. But when you come to NLC, you realize you're not only being trained by the NAIFA team on how to have these conversations, you're being inspired by the other members that are around you that are there for the same reason, to learn, to get better, to grow. But you also realize that you can position yourself as a resource with that member of Congress to be able to say, hey, this is my profession. This is what I do each and every day. If you have a constituent that has a problem in this space, whether it's related to my company or not, I'd be happy to talk to them. And you're swapping those business cards, you're taking those photographs, you're making a commitment to meet them in district the next time that they're there. It's really very much the same as what we do when we talk to our clients. It's building that relationship, and you're just doing it with a different audience. In this case, when we're on the Hill, it's building those relationships with the offices.
It's interesting. You talk about the journey, right? And that you're able to take what, for all practical purposes, is a good idea, potentially, and relate it to them in a way, as that was my experience a little too, is that how do we help them really understand the impact and how it really, the functionality of how this bill could work, right? Because like you said, an inch deep, a mile wide, is they don't necessarily know from the concept that, how the fiduciary rule is going to actually play itself out, right? And the way it was originally talked about is that it would have been very arduous in numerous ways. It just kind of had gone through the way it's kind of broad brushing. So thank you for that, because obviously you have a way of articulating it and learning and teaching others, and then also articulating it to the lawmakers. Talk to me a little bit about, I like this podcast because it allows for us to get, deep with someone a little bit and talk a little bit about the challenges you had in the business. What would you say the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome as being who you are now and being in the industry over the period of time? What would you say is the one obstacle? Because I think everybody goes through those, but they see somebody like yourself and they say, oh my gosh, I'd like to be him today, right? But there's obstacles that you obviously had to go through, and hurdles and probably get knocked down. But could you share with us one of them that kind of sticks out in your head as like, you know what? Yeah, that was kind of either a turning point or it was an obstacle that you knew you had to overcome and you overcame it.
Well, I will tell you, I can share this really from a broad perspective because I'm smiling as you're asking the question. Having been in this business now for almost 32 years, but being an agent for 25, I think one of the things that I've learned in my experience is that we are really only limited by the vision that we have as to what we can become. And so as a younger agent with young kids at home, I saw my agency as a means for me to be able to be that parent, that spouse, that school board volunteer. I've coached almost 30 teams. I've been on 4 school boards. I've been president of 2 of them. I've run charitable organizations. My agency gave me the availability and capacity to do all of those things. I would be challenged sometimes by someone that says, well, how can you have all the time for that? Well, because it's important. It was important for me to volunteer and raise my hand with NAIFA, to go through the chairs at the local level, at the state level, at the national level. But traveling as much as I did as NAIFA president and through the executive committee, I came to learn that, one, we are an amazing association of people, of professionals. We are lucky to have one another looking out for what it is that we do. But there's also folks that are doing so much more, whether it's because they've aligned themselves with a professional coach, or they found a niche market in their space that has really allowed them to become the subject matter expert in a whole sea of people that are selling the same product. This is where they are in terms of their passion. In my 25th year as an agent, I'm a P&C based guy. That's what I do, is primarily the P&C based products. The life insurance has become a key focus for us. And so I'll be at the MDRT Edge meeting as a member of the roundtable for the first time ever this year. That's something where part of me is a little sheepish for being a newbie at the MDRT level. But part of me is also going back to that vision aspect, Chris, to be able to say, look, we're not done. We've got a lot of time left in doing what we do. We can expand our expectations of ourselves, and being around really high-level advisors within NAIFA that are outside my own company, finding coaches through NAIFA like I have, and utilizing their services to help me and my team get even better at what we do. Ultimately, it comes down to benefit my customers more than anything else. But we've also realized that by helping more and more customers with these products, it just happens to, raise our profile in what it is that we do, and we're achieving things that we've never done.
MDRT is a wonderful, wonderful family. I think you'll find that your level of writing life insurance will go up significantly because of the people that you're around. I'm a member, have been a member I started opposite of you, right? I started on the life insurance side and the disability side and long-term care side. So I started on that side, and now I've migrated to the investment side, but still doing insurance, right? So, the MDRT family is big. Once you get to MDRT, then you're going to say, okay, what's next? And they're going to say core to the table. Then they say, hey, you got to get top of the table. And those conversations,
right.
Those conversations are awesome to have. It makes you a little nervous, right, to have them, because we're at NAIFA. I know that from the work you've done, the path you've paved, is that you're committed to this industry, not just interested. And I know that you'll find the commitment at MDRT that to continue to help protect the things they care about the most, which is their families, their businesses, and taking care of the things that they love and they care about. So let's fast forward to tape. Mentorship, right? Previous guests, we've asked about who are some of the mentors in their life, but I'm going to ask you something different. I'm going to ask you, share with me a little bit why mentorship is just important, simply because I think you might have a different aspect on it. I'm sure you have mentors, but I want to know from you, why do you feel like mentorship is so critical in the business?
Well, from the perspective that I'm in now, the folks that I gravitated towards as mentors were the people that I met through NAIFA that were of the same philosophy that I think I am now. And I've said this from the main stage. My personal philosophy is give it all away, right? So if you are really good at something, if you are skilled at something, if you are passionate about something, keeping it to yourself is not the answer. You have to share that with others. And so those folks that came before me that would take me under their wing and say, look, I'm not selling the exact same product that you are, but this is how you want to sell that really big life case to your customer. And don't be afraid to ask for X number of dollars in premium. Or don't be afraid to raise your hand and go through the chairs of leadership in this organization because you think you don't have enough time. And that's where I am now, is to be able to then tell folks, hey, look, I can only share my own personal experience on this, that the more you put into an organization, the more that you put into your profession, the more that you're going to get out of that. And the better you are going to become. And guess what? It just keeps adding to itself. When you're a part of NAIFA and you commit yourself as a volunteer, you're investing your time and energy and your finances, honestly, to the organization. But as a result of that, you're getting out of that organization great professionals that have done this, that are experienced in a particular part of the marketplace that maybe I've never had any experience in, but I want to access and learn how to be better. And if it's not my bailiwick, then I can find those people that I can trust, that I can then refer my clients to. And so I do that a lot when I'm talking to my customers and say, look, you're asking for something that is specialized and is not within my portfolio. I'm going to find a NAIFA member that I can pass you off to, that you guys can continue this conversation. And I tell young advisors, I'm only going to send somebody to you if you believe in what it is that you do. And you've expressed that belief by being a part of this organization. You support it, you come to events, and you understand that it's not just about the company that's on the front window or you as your own small town retail shop. It's about you representing a profession that can change lives for the better. And if we don't do our jobs the way we know we can, when folks run into these everyday risks and they're not prepared, shame on us that we didn't do what we could have to help offset that. So I really think mentorship to me is giving away that experience that we've had, those relationships that we can foster by being that connective tissue between somebody's experience to date to what they can become and where this profession can lead them.
You know, Paul, I want to jump onto that one because if you would, I'd love for you to expand on your practice has changed, not so much what you do, but those who you serve has actually changed throughout your 25 plus years of being an agent. And you have been able to be that connective tissue into a whole different population that has historically been thought of as maybe either underserved or underrepresented. And you have flexed your whole business to do that and therefore bring a whole different perspective to Capitol Hill and to the State House, et cetera. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. And when Chris was earlier mentioning the Department of Labor and the fiduciary rule that we had to push back, 6-7 years ago, this was what I told the people in the Department of Labor when we were sitting around the table. There was literally 12 of us, 5 of us from NAIFA, and our whole team that had put this together. And as the only guy in the room that is actually in the business of putting these products in the hands of our clients, I gave them that example, Suzanne. I said, hey, look, I grew up on one side of the District of Columbia. I was given this assignment in Hyattsville, and I had no points of reference here. I didn't have any centers of influence because Prince George's County is a different county from where I grew up. I serve a majority African-American county. It's one of the wealthiest in the country. But since I started here 25 years ago, I realized very early on that these were customers that were not necessarily being served the same way of the people that I saw from Montgomery County. They didn't have advisors, they didn't have accountants, they didn't have financial planners, they didn't have attorneys all at their beck and call. They often saw our office as the resource for professional advice and access to some of these products. We talk about things that my agency couldn't put in place for them, but they needed a professional sounding board. In that 25-year period of time, this marketplace has changed dramatically. And so I serve a predominantly Hispanic market. 80% of my new clients are Spanish speakers. And so all my team are Spanish speakers. And very similar to what my experience had been when I got here 25 years ago, is that these are folks that need a professional that they can trust. They see that we're not just in it for one sale, that we're in it for a long-term relationship, and that we have many of the tools that they're going to need that we can put at their disposal. And it's gratifying to me to have multiple generations of families that we are their resource, we're their ally as they're trying to overcome some of the challenges of, having a new teenage driver versus starting a new business versus getting ready for retirement. They can come to us for all of those things. When we're the only thing that is between a family not being able to have a funeral or having a funeral because of a conversation we had and taking a pen to paper and a little bit of money and creating a life insurance contract. It's profound, and it's enriching for my team and I. They've both been with me one for 16 years, one for 8. And to me, it's a remarkable gift that we have to be able to do what we do. But when meeting with those folks from the Department of Labor, just to bring this full circle, I invited them to come to my office. I said, folks, what you're doing is you're putting up barriers to the same people that you're trying to help. These are clients that we have to beg them to save $50 a month for their own retirement because they don't have $250,000 in resources to go to a big brokerage house. I said, just come to my office and sit down. We're 15 minutes away from where we were sitting at the time. I would love for you to meet my customers and see what our experience is like when we're serving these folks. Not a single one of them took me up on it. But they couldn't deny that it was something where they may not have seen. I believe that what they were trying to do was right for their reasons. They just didn't realize how much of the marketplace that they were endangering by removing the professional access to an advisor like myself.
I'll tell you, thank you for the work you do. It really is a calling, not only serving, but also that idea of servicing a market that traditionally may not have access to products and services. I'm a big DEI guy, so every now and again I'll throw some DEI stuff on these calls. But you kind of said it full circle, is that everybody deserves the right and the ability and the opportunity to protect their family and to be able to walk and be able to do this thing with dignity. And you basically summarize that. So it's really good. So we're gonna run short on time here. I could talk to you for the next hour just simply on just like-minded individuals who kind of talk the same talk. But your day-to-day, obviously, discipline is you got to be disciplined to be able to build a team, run an office, be able to help your clients. Tell me, what do you do? So what does your typical day look like?
Yeah, so I'm usually up relatively early. If I'm up, it's between 5:30, and just kind of routine stuff around the house. I'll be on my laptop by 6:30 so that I've got all my stuff done before I leave the house to come to the office. We're a small retail shop in Hyattsville. We're right on the street level, have been in the same building since 1951. The agent that I took over for was the original tenant in this building. Wow. So we are in the same address, same phone number, everything. We've upgraded a little since then, but it's a warm and inviting space that my team and I have created here. And it is each and every day, there's a bit of coaching that I take on, whether that's just a couple minutes that I have some professional coaching access points where I'll go in and get some ideas that I can use. I've got a full-blown list of all the things that I need to accomplish that day, that week. I'll plan that out typically on Sundays, but things pop up along the way. And our customers often dictate the pace of the day. So we'll have someone that has an issue that suddenly popped up that I'm leaving here to go meet them because they had a house fire. Or somebody just is getting ready to retire and they're looking at documents to roll over a retirement account. Or we have somebody that comes in because, hey, we just got married. We've got a new baby on the way. What do we do, right? Because they've been around us for a long time. So we serve our folks I think dutifully in a fun environment. But day to day for me, we'll have 20 to 30 people in the office a day. Oftentimes it's just something simple as a transaction. But just before we got on, I was talking to somebody about a retirement account. They work for a small business, never had access to anything before. And suddenly we're starting to educate them on, hey, this is this process to help pay yourself into the future. So how are you going to prepare for that? So it's education. It's me coaching my team with what I've learned, inspiring them, rewarding them often because they're doing great work. For just a small team, we're leading our marketplace on the life insurance side for our company, and it's just translating the passion that we feel for what we do into the day-to-day touch points that we have with our clients, so that they feel that they know we're genuine, they know we're not, pulling out and going to be in a different office. They're not calling an 800 number to get to me. They're calling me. Same phone number, same address, same team. We know them. And so as a result of that relationship, we're able to better advise them and put the products in place to help protect them. And it's exciting for us to see families grow, businesses grow, the wealth of our clients grow. And then when the time comes, when somebody passes, that we have a product in place that's going to help that family maintain their long-term plans, even in the absence of a family member. So it's a gratifying profession, Chris. I know you know that. It's we're lucky to be able to do what we do. We often complain that the toughest part about this job is that it starts over every day. But the best part about this job is that it starts over every day. So we get a chance to make an impact, and we take that seriously.
All right, so Paul, we're going to move to the lightning round. So I know we probably prepped you for that. But Suzanne, do you have any other questions before we move to the speed round? If not, I'll prep him so he's prepared. Do you have anything else, Suzanne?
The only thing I'd ask, Paul, is could you give a little plug for Life Happens and the work you've done there? And as we kind of come to the conclusion of Hispanic Heritage Awareness Month, and this year's spokesperson is Rosalind Sanchez, but you've been heavily involved in Life Happens too. So maybe just a quick plug about our kind of sister association, Life Happens.
Yeah. So just as a reset for everybody, Life Happens is a non-for-profit educational organization that the life insurance profession supports. So they get money from a lot of different companies as a part of our neutral third-party way to educate the American public on the importance of not just life insurance during Life Insurance Awareness Month, but also Disability Insurance Awareness Month in May. Every February is Insure Your Love campaign. And Life Happens has a professional platform that you can actually go into as an advisor. It's called Life Happens Pro, that has great pre-packaged content that you can then use as an agent or as an advisor to share with your customers to get them a little bit off kilter, right? The biggest thing for us to do as advisors is break the inertia of a customer not making a decision. And so Life Happens is an outstanding organization that helps foster those conversations within the profession and within the American public. And so I'm very pleased to be a board member, and I've just been asked to go through the chairs. So I'll be joining the executive committee in 2023 of Life Happens, and I'm very excited about that and the support that NAIFA provides to Life Happens too. It's a really important mission, and I'm excited to continue to carry the torch on behalf of NAIFA, but really on behalf of the customers that we serve.
Congratulations! All right, Coach Gandy, Coach Dougherty.
All right.
Time.
So, all right, Mr. Dougherty, here we go. So kind of we'll lightning through this. And so the key to this is whatever comes to mind first is what you say, okay? Is we're not going to, so a couple questions.
Okay.
Just we'll go. You're like, so we'll understand like how this goes. You ready? Here we go. Favorite all-time sports player?
Art Monk.
Art Monk. That's
Good
a throwback.
choice.
That's a throwback.
That's number 81. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite movie of all time?
It's a wonderful life.
A wonderful life. Your favorite meal, if this is your last day on the face of the earth, what would you choose as your favorite meal?
I'm fixing it, and it's pasta with red sauce.
Pasta.
I'll challenge anybody, anywhere, anytime. Come to my kitchen. I'll throw down right now. Yeah.
And then the best advice somebody's ever given you.
That's a great question. I would say that, it goes back to the question you asked me earlier. Your capacity is far greater than you can even see.
Got it. And then
whether that's as a professional or as a partner, as a family member, as a friend, you've got more in the tank than you have.
And then last but not least is if you could choose to come back as a famous person, who would you come back as? Anybody in history?
Great question. Anybody in history? Wow, that's really tough. I'm torn. I'm going back to the folks that have had such a profound impact on who we are. Mm-hmm. Whether that's Ulysses S. Grant or Abraham Lincoln or Roosevelt. Mm-hmm. Or Jimmy Stewart. I think those guys have had a pretty good run as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you so much. Number one, for your service. We thank you so much for participating and being a wonderful guest of our Advisor Today podcast. We can't do and continue. You've laid some great groundwork. Now we have work to do. You've given us vision, and you've led from the front, and now everybody has to commit to continuing to take that and really run with it. So we appreciate everything you do, who you are, and what you stand for. Any parting words?
No, listen, I want to thank you, Chris, not just for the opportunity today, but for your leadership as well. It's important to us to see just what this organization has in its future. And with you as a part of that leadership team, it's amazing. Suzanne and the team and the NAIFA staff are just remarkable. We can't thank them enough for supporting what it is that we have to do. And I look forward to seeing everybody at the NLC.
NLC will be fun. Suzanne, do you have any parting words before I kind of give everybody a goodbye?
I would say congratulations, Paul, on Life Happens, going through the chairs. It's going to be great. Congratulations to Chris, who's our 2022 Diversity Champion of the Year and will be celebrated at National Leadership Conference. And the last thing I'd say, if you're listening to this and you're not yet a member, please do so. Join us. You can hear how great the crowd is here at NAIFA. You can go to belong.naifa.org/join. And if you are a member, thank you so much for serving.
So with that being said, we got, a couple great nuggets from Paul today. He truly is. He gave us a couple key things, but don't be the person, as he mentioned, that's a mile wide and only an inch deep. It only matters the fact that the people the lives in which we touch. And so thank you for tuning in to Advisor Today, NAIFA's podcast, where we uplift, promote, educate each other for the purpose of the greater good. Go out and have a great, great, great month. And we look forward to seeing you at NLC. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us for NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series. Make sure to subscribe to get future episodes. And if you're interested in coming on the show, let us know.